slight introduction to the Jackson Lab. Our headquarters is based in Bar Harbor, Maine, so I don't know if some folks know where Bar Harbor is or not, but it's also Mount Desert Island and Acadian National Park for reference. So we're on a small little island off the coast of Maine. We're also located in Sacramento, California, and Farmington, Connecticut. And really our main driver is genetic research. So we use the mouse model here because it's very close to the human genome. It's very inexpensive, while some of the mice genomes are pretty inexpensive to work with and easy to research on. We're also considered a cancer center designation through the National Cancer Institute. And we focus on, I just want to, we're almost all human diseases for the most part, but we do plenty of cancer research. So we've got brain leukemia, lung lymphoma. We also do computational biology and bioinformatics, so that's where we're doing a lot of the genome work. Developmental and reproductive biology, so we're looking at birth defects, Down syndrome, aging, things like that. We also do immunology, so HIV, AIDS, anemia, autoimmune system difficulties, metabolic disorders, so that's where you get your diabetes, your hypertension, your obesity. We also research neurobiology, so blindness, deafness, epilepsy, glaucoma, some of those fun things. And we've been in existence 85 years that we've been doing this, so good things. And I can talk to our population on the next slide. Great. So I pulled our numbers this morning. So we're at roughly just over 1,700 employees, and the majority of those folks are based here in Maine. So we're at about 1,250 in Maine, and we have just shy of 300 in California. And we're at about almost just under 200 in Farmington, Connecticut. And then we've got some folks who are based here and there throughout the United States, and we have some folks who are abroad as well. But you can see, obviously, by the slide that most of our folks are here in Maine, and really our demographics of our folks, it's a pretty even split between men and women. Average age is that early 40s. And we have, as far as what the workforce looks like, we've got, the blue collar and the white collar. So we've got, from pretty much the high school education all the way up to those folks who have their PhDs. And so we've got different avenues within the lab. We've got our research side, but also we do animal care and production. So we also have a production workforce. So we actually produce mice here for sale and for research. So we've definitely got a good lump of just different folks who make up our workforce. So hopefully it's similar to some of you who have logged on. I don't know what our population base looks like. Go ahead, Niraj. So our wellness program, it was envisioned. We, built it. We, got all of, kind of that regular wellness model, right? The senior leader buy-in, a lot of the management buy-in. We spent a year really, just researching best practices, what was out there, what were other companies doing, and we officially launched the program, which is called Jack's Fit, in 2007. Just like most folks who may have launched wellness programs, over the years we have definitely learned the ups and downs from our mistakes, and we leverage a lot of the employee input with interest surveys and culture audits, so that way we try to keep ourselves in check, and we make sure that we're really offering what our folks are interested in and engaged in. And I think like most, you launch your wellness program in hopes that it'll help kind of drive the cost of healthcare down. We definitely didn't see that. We were offering great things and best practice based for wellness programs, but it definitely wasn't staving off those annual increases in our not really our bottom line, but for our benefits cost increases. So we decided to move things completely right into our insurer, so we're self-insured, so right into our TPA. We were able to save a little bit of budget dollars by doing that, but we were able to fully integrate our wellness program within our benefit program. so we were not, two standalone pieces. Obviously, there was pushback because you always have those folks who are, the cynics, who are very worried about, their healthcare data being shared with health insurance and things like that. But we found with some pretty good education and whatnot, folks were good with that, and that was the point where we were just really bad healthcare consumers. So we actually added a deductible to our health plan, which we had never had. And so what we did is, with our integration with our benefits program and our wellness program, we were actually able to leverage what we call health incentive credits. So that's where you see the $1,300 and the $2,600. So folks could actually earn dollars off their annual health plan deductible by doing what we call healthy, wealthy, and wise things. So folks, if they did certain things, we could track it, and we could actually allocate dollars towards that deductible to reduce it and completely eliminate it. And we have had pretty good success with that. And it's kind of like everyone else. We we saw good results with health risk factors and whatnot, but definitely didn't see, the results, where we wanted to in the reduction in cost of premium and whatnot. And I know I can say, since we've integrated our benefits and wellness packages together, and really are giving employees kind of, a chance to drive that portion and, do things to earn dollars off their annual deductible, we've actually seen no increase in our costs since 2010, and that's to both the Jackson Laboratory and to our employees. Go ahead. So here's a snapshot. Just like everyone else, you're looking, having everybody within their benefits and wellness program, you're wanting to look at, your cost drivers, what your metrics look at. And, I feel like we probably look like most employers when it comes to health risks. We all battle with this stuff. Our big uptick in 2013 and 2014, we really started at the end of 2012 to really undergo a huge marketing strategy plan to just kind of get folks out there and get them involved with getting their health screenings, their preventative visits. We leveraged different things so that we tied into our deductible stuff. So we wanted folks to get those annual physicals. We wanted folks to get their age-appropriate health screenings, cancer screenings. So that's where we see that uptick in the percent of medical claims for chronic condition management, and the same for 2014. And I think you can see the same on our top chronic conditions, right? I mean, those are the things that are driving ours, but a lot of the same heavy hitters like that for most folks. It's the high blood pressure, your diabetic population, obesity, our behavioral health stuff is a big driver as well. So I would assume most folks that are on the call probably see similar type metrics. Go ahead. Same with risk factors. I feel like when I look at data and look at other folks, it's a lot of the same stuff, right? So it's your poor nutrition, your physical inactivity, tobacco use, and substance abuse. And sometimes we look at all kinds of other stuff, but these were, based on our health insurance claims data. So these are the major drivers for us. And you can see poor nutrition, right? So this is where, we said, well, how do we, engage folks on the nutrition standpoint? We've got some great, eateries and cafeteria based here in all of our locations, but, how do we, where do we use and how do we bring in a program to, affect folks how they eat? We're able to, offer the stress management and, physical activity pieces and things like that, but it's really hard to, affect how people eat on a daily basis. Go ahead. Cool. So, this is where we said, we looked at lots of different programs, and it's, it's that best practice. We try to offer, all the interventions to meet folks, where they need to be met. And I think, we tried to say, well, everybody has to eat. And, most of the other programs, you can kind of affect folks, at their work site. And it's pretty easy because you can affect it by, what you actually offer, say in vending machines, or what you have your food vendor provide. But the major thing for us is, how do you get the family unit involved? And the other piece is, when folks leave the work site, how do you, you know, reach into, your employees' homes and try to leverage that education so that way folks can, start to choose the right foods or to, make the healthier choices. And the other piece is, it has to be easy, right? So one, it's going to be easy and trying to make the healthy choice the right choice. And let's, we did the whole survey and needs and interest stuff for folks. It's really the, I don't know how to shop. I don't know where to get the information. So it's really leveraging that type of market and, a vendor or a program that, will help educate your employees for, being able to purchase healthy foods. Oh, go ahead. So I think, like most folks with, when you roll out a brand new program, you go through your whole marketing, kind of playbook, and you try to send things in, every manner possible. I kind of coined it we take the guerrilla marketing standpoint where, it's going above and beyond your extra, instead of just, the posters on the high use areas or the walkthrough places. It's also, I leverage our custodial groups, so when they're going through the bathrooms, I say, hey, do you mind putting up some of the, some of these posters on the back of the stall doors? I hit a lot of our, like in our fitness centers, the locker room, you name it. We do table tents, so every conference room got a table tent. All of our eateries got table tents. We sent home a huge mailing to our employees, so it was, here's everything, here's what's coming. We leveraged our email systems. Our wellness program has a Facebook page, so we also use that to try to get into homes. Also, the video testimonials are huge because, people believe friends who have done it, and if it's worked for them, they want to get in on it. And then we also had some great on-site sessions where nutritious came out and actually spent, a whole day just enrolling folks and, teaching them how to use the program and really, just kind of like sucking folks into it, get over to the table and, get them engaged and say, hey, we're going to, help you shop healthier too and hopefully save some money at the same time. So I think we went above and beyond, but it's one of those things where, we've had some really great components to our wellness program, but we didn't have the nutrition perspective. And we just knew, everybody had to eat, and nutrition is a huge cost driver. It has an effect on most of those chronic diseases. So, here's a great way to try to, head that off of the path and hopefully, start to see those reductions in, say, blood pressure or, our obesity folks or, the folks who are pre-diabetic. Here's a chance to really reverse some of those chronic diseases. So, go ahead. So, we use, probably like most folks, an HRA. We actually use the University of Michigan Health Research Center's HRA. And, from the data that we get, it's really looking at that population readiness, so it's that, on the, whatever, 0 to 5 scale, what's your rating on, change or, what are you interested in? Are you interested in receiving more information? Are you willing to actually change? Are you willing to work with a coach? Are you willing to actually involve yourself in a program? And based on our HRA, you can see the percentage of folks who have body weight, blood pressure, and cholesterol issues. So, we definitely have that prevalence of health risks here that definitely the awareness is there. And we provide folks with, their metrics. We have them do mass biometric screening, so we hold those once a year, and then we do some biannually for our off-site folks. But we're trying to empower them, saying, hey, here's your numbers, please also take your health risk assessment. And we try to gauge all of that aggregate data back to see, trying to push that metric-driven decisions as to, where do we need to meet our employees and what are they interested in. One piece was nutrition. It all kind of tailors back to the body weight, the blood pressure, the cholesterol, some of those other chronic diseases. You can go ahead.
Yeah, you did. That's next page, Ben.
Say it again.
Yeah, to the next page now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it didn't move forward on my screen. Sorry. Give me one sec. We actually have to. Yeah, it's still not moving forward for me. Hold on. I have the one that you had sent me. I've got that called up so I can bounce that just to make sure I comment on the correct screen. Cool. So we're looking at the percentage of people
Yep.
that we're on. Okay.
Yep.
Um, right. So here's our. I mean, basically what we base a lot of our desire to change off of. I mean, there are high percentages of folks who are looking to make that change, especially to lose weight, to get folks in their healthy BMI levels. The same, I mean, it's pretty great to see almost a 50% interest in, how do I reduce my fat and cholesterol intake? Still a lot of drivers based around nutrition and eating, and obviously lowering the cholesterol level, low blood pressure. So kind of like a lot of the same stuff that folks would normally see, probably through your HRA aggregate data as far as, planning that behavior change and, taking that data and like where do you go with it. So all of this just helped make, the decision on, yeah, we need a nutrition initiative.
So I'll start talking about the results. So as Ben mentioned so far, the population was very ready because of the JackSfit program that has been placed since 2007. The people were actually looking for the right tool to be available to them, and the results that we saw in initial participation was simply beyond our imagination. We launched a program in May where we started off by doing an on-site session, and Ben and his team did a wonderful job of communication. So we had three rounds of communication. 3 weeks prior to the launch, Ben and his team sent out mailers to employees' home addresses, addressing the entire family. 2 weeks before the launch, we send out email outbound communication to all the employees. And a week before the launch, we had actually posters and table tents that Ben just mentioned across the restrooms, high traffic zones, your gyms, your conference rooms. And the results were amazing in the sense that within a day, we had 25% people signed up, which is usually around 8 to 10% for a traditional wellness program over a course of 12 months. And ever since that, the number of people who have signed up has continued to increase. What you're seeing here is employees in Maine, which is the largest location of around 1200 or so employees. So we are right now hovering around 41% of participation rate. If we look at the same information for Connecticut, we went to Connecticut on-site session in October timeframe. It was a little later than the launch of Maine, but again, Connecticut did everything on their own. So they grew from almost 0% to around 25%, all on their own self-service, based on digital communication, based on the mailers that Ben and his team sent out, and they got the further uptake when we were there on site in October, and right now they're hovering around 35% or so participation rate in the state of Connecticut. So it was a very good success story for all of us in terms of seeing that level of participation, that again showed the fact that people were ready to embrace something that can give them a tool to do healthier grocery shoppings. The next area that we were really focused on was tracking engagement rates. And we understand that engagement is a very overused term, so let me put in context for everyone to understand that. As you can see on the right hand side of the screen, there are 4 or 5 grocery stores that were predominant for the Jackson Labs population, and the biggest grocery store was Hannaford, which is a grocer's located in Maine. And Hannaford, they'd have a grocery loyalty card, but that card is not heavily promoted by their own employees. So that means if employees are required to scan their card at checkout, the cashier would not really nudge them. Cashier would not remind them to scan their grocery loyalty card. So it became very important for us to actually track how many members are actually scanning their grocery rewards card at checkout, so we can track the number of shopping trips. And we were really thrilled to see that the number of shopping trips that are being logged are increasing month over month. That kind of goes into supporting the fact that people are remembering to take that action while they're checking out at the grocery store. So that was the engagement rate we saw, but our intent was to actually track behavior change. Behavior change that is objective, that is not self-reported, behavior change that can tie back to the outcomes that we had seen, the readiness that we have seen in the population. As per the health risk assessment, 40% people wanted to control their fat intake, 60% people wanted to lose their weight, 30% people wanted to reduce their cholesterol intake. So many times when we look at HRA, we feel it's a wishful thinking. But unless we put tools in place to actually help employees to make informed decisions, it's very hard to track those things. So what we tracked was the amount of produce that the Jackson Labs employees and families are consuming on a month after month versus their total shopping basket. And what you're seeing here is that the produce consumption increased from just under 7% to over 23% in just 10 months of time. And again, that is not an overnight change. That requires a lot of communication, ongoing reminders to employees and families about the value of produce, about why that will be helpful to consume produce to help them meet their goals. So these were the key things that we saw in terms of behavior change so far. Now, our goal was to actually map this behavior change to the outcomes. The medical costs that you just saw Ben explain were primarily driven by key conditions, and we wanted to actually map it back to those conditions to see, are we seeing any correlation. So what I'm going to talk about are the two conditions. One was hypertension, and hypertension was the leading cost driver based on the claims data. And just kind of put things in context, hypertension has got blood pressure that ranges between the category of normal, prehypertensive, or hypertensive. Now, based on research and published by Mayo Clinic, usually people who are hypertensive, they can control their blood pressure by focusing on what they eat. So focusing on sodium becomes a very important factor in terms of controlling their overall blood pressure. So looking at the shopping trips, we were actually able to track the purchase of sodium intake on a daily basis among the employee population. And this is what we saw was very incredible. So this is the first time we were able to track the data, which is not self-reported by employees, rather it is tracked automatically based on their buying behavior. And we were able to see an 18% drop in just under 10 months of time for the daily sodium intake. Now when we overlap this data and we saw at the same time with the biometrics that Ben was mentioning, the team was going through biometric tests, we saw a few changes. One, we saw that during the same time, the hypertensive population was controlled. That means the hypertensive population was able to control their blood pressure to a large extent by focusing on diet, and I'm sure they were doing exercise and other things as well as a part of the overall Jack's Fit program. The second key thing was that the increase of the people who were within the normal range of their blood pressure has increased significantly, as you can see on the graph. So this was insightful for all of us that Jack's Fit had laid the foundation to make people aware of their conditions and make them aware of readiness to change. And then NutriSavings tools came in just at the right time to actually help them make the right decisions of what to put in the body. The second population we looked at was diabetic population, because again diabetes was the third largest cost driver. In 2012, we had 7% of our cost focused on diabetes, and that grew up to 11% in 2014. So just put things in context, diabetic population is qualified by three levels: normal, pre-diabetic, and diabetic based on their blood sugar level. And again, people can control their blood sugar level on their own to a large extent based on their diet. And if you increase your dietary fiber intake by consuming um, extra vegetables, fresh fruits, beans, nuts, and seeds, you can control your biometrics outcome to a large extent. And what we saw, again tracking the shopping trip data, that we saw an increase in the dietary fiber intake for the entire population by 11%. During the same window of time as Ben and team were doing biometrics, onset biometrics, we saw certain startling correlations where the number of people who recorded their blood sugar within the normal level increased significantly. Similarly, number of people who were recording the blood sugar level within the pre-diabetic range, which is between 100 and 125, also had a positive influence. So that was very insightful for the Jackson Labs team as well as nutrition team to actually see the causality between doing a wellness program where we are educating employees about what their conditions are and making them prepared for the change, and giving them tools to actually track their change on their own and manage their own conditions effectively.